How many close games have the Warriors blown this season? You look at the standings and you say, hey, man, if they would have pulled off four of these games they've blown, they'd be sitting in a whole different position, right? With that context. But again, a win's a win, a loss is a loss. And there's been so many situations where they have a late lead, they fall apart and fail to execute, and they lose the game, whether it's at home recently or on the road all season long. Well, Wednesday night, in comes our rival, the Memphis Grizzlies, and it was kind of a role reversal, right? It was a game where, what did they have, 13 or 14 first half turnovers? Man, I mean, they're down about 8-10 points with 7-8 minutes to go, and they rally back and steal one at home against these Grizzlies. As far as this Jordan Poole, Steph Curry mouth guard thing, it's funny to hear the contrasting takes from the fan base, right? To me, I'll come out and say it, man. Like, listen, Jordan Poole, I think what we're seeing is he's kind of just an obnoxious personality, right? When you see him, like the way he deals with the referees, you saw Kerr blow a gasket on him. When was that, in Cleveland, right? And then Steph, who is, very patient dude, right? We've only seen him throw that mouthpiece like 3 times in 15 seasons. You know what I mean? And so that's my conclusion as far as Poole and his personality. Like, more and more, you're like, this dude can be difficult to deal with, right? I will say this, though. If you look at the top 100 NBA players, right? 65, 70 of them, probably hard to deal with one way or another, right? Different personalities, but in different ways. They're probably, my point is that a lot of great athletes and players across sports, that's a common trait in their personalities, because it's the same thing that makes them very good, right? And I think Poole's relentless personality is also in part what's going to make him very good and keep him accelerating, right? As far as that shot goes in the actual incident, I covered it in the breakdown. Obviously, it's a bad shot. It's a bad shot. Time and clock, right? At under 2 minutes to go, you've got to use clock, right? It's almost as good as a shot. So I understand that scenario. However, does Clay not pull that shot? Have we not seen Steph take that shot, right? I think that this has been the Warriors' culture. That was an on-brand shot as far as how the Warriors play. At the same time, again, under 2 minutes, I think that changes things. And then you compound it with the context of how many games they've blown this season. And so that's where that erupted, right? But again, it's funny. The fan base, I feel like the under 30s are kind of like, nah, Poole is cool, man. He's cool. I don't get it. And they're like, people 30 and up are like, yo, I see what Draymond was, you know what I'm saying? Right? It's funny, but again, I'm not writing him off. It still can make him great, but maturity has to happen. And I think he's a personality that wears on you, right? He's just got to get the last word. He's in your face. He's constant energy, and he plays that way as well, right? Now just transfer some of that to the defensive end. I want to talk a little bit about Memphis, though, before I move into the big picture of what we're doing here with the Warriors, because, listen, I respect them as an opponent. I think they're a really solid team. As far as them being a contender, a true contender, I'm not so sure about that. And there's a few reasons why. They kind of remind me of a college program, right? Because it's like they bring in a certain type of guy. They have a consistent effort every night, and they out-effort teams a lot on regular season games, right? They're just going to play harder, high hands, fundamentally sound, connected, and I think that makes them, I think that they're greater than the sum of their parts because of that connectivity, coaching, and fundamentals. But when you jump into the playoffs and these big game situations, I think that they're consistent effort where they out effort you, that depletes, because now it's a big game where everybody's locked in, right? And then I'm not so sure they have enough scoring and shot making outside of Ja and Bane when it comes down and the game gets slow and it gets grindy. And then you may call it experience, or you could call it IQ. It's kind of hand in hand. I don't know if they have the basketball IQ. You don't have enough shot making and enough basketball IQ or experience late in game, and that's why you see the Warriors always seem to get the better of them, even when it feels like Memphis may have outplayed them during the game. The other big bit of news, I guess, that's kind of going around Dub Nation right now is this talk of Bob Myers. There were several articles, The Athletic, talking about, his free agency, his pending free agency, how hands-on Joe Lacob has been. He's, making big boards and draft board prospects. And, it seems like there's just a lot of agendas. There's a lot of different agendas in this organization right now, and that kind of falls in Joe Lacob's lap because he's the head of the snake, and he's allowed this. You talk about Memphis all being on the same page and connected. The Warriors are a different story, and that's why we're seeing these struggles. But Bob, there's people that say, well, Bob Myers, what did he really do? He adopted Steph. He came in here. The Splash Brothers were already here. And then KD comes, and it's like, oh, well, so what exactly did he do? Listen, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, right? And Bob Myers, I'm not sure that I wouldn't call him an elite talent evaluator, right? But what he is he's an elite relationship builder and a connector. He builds relationships. When you look at the relationships he's built within the organization and around the league, and that's his strength as a general manager, it matters a ton, right? And when you look back to KD's departure, listen, Durant never had to do a sign and trade, right? He could have just bolted to Brooklyn. I think Bob Myers' relationship with Durant had a lot to do with KD signing off eventually on that sign and trade, so that cap space didn't just evaporate. And you know what happened from there, right? D'Lo turns into Wiggins and Kuminga. And now you fast forward here to 2023, and you saw the thumbnail, the Clamp Bros. And maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, right? But I'm here to make that statement as we focus on Jordan Poole. When you look at the young guys and the guys outside of the core vets, the focus is on Jordan Poole because his game is so loud. He's gotten the big bag, so now the expectations are there, right? And so you get it. And they place him in the starting lineup, and we want to deem it the new death lineup so quick. We're all quick to do that, right? But the truth is, when you talk about the run this year, outside of some big trade that doesn't sound like it's going to happen, the Warriors are going to go as far as Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga take them. Now, I know you're going to say, well, that's silly. It's Steph. It's Steph's show. So, yeah, we know Steph is the sun. It all revolves around him. Or did I say that backwards? You know what I'm saying. I understand that. Of course, it goes without saying, the Mavs need Luka, right? The Warriors need Steph, like the Bucks need Giannis. That goes without saying. But the X factors for this Warriors season are Wiggins and Kuminga. And you saw in that game late against Memphis, Dante DiVincenzo's been amazing, man. And I just, it sucks that he's going to earn the payday he gets. It sucks that I don't think we can retain him long term because you see how well he fits there. But the Warriors, they go small against Memphis late in that game as Kuminga picked up, I think it was an offensive moving screen foul, and Dante ended up closing that game out. And it actually, Jenkins and Memphis yielded to the small lineup because, remember, Jackson Jr. fouls out. Surprise, surprise, right? No Steven Adams, so he goes to Tyus Jones, and it just became a small ball thing where most matchups, that's going to favor the Warriors, right? And Dante's been good. I'm not saying he can't close, but ultimately, when you look at solving the closing issues and executing and closing out games and getting back to playing defense the way they need to, I think it's pretty clear that new closing five, I don't care about the new death lineup or the fast five, the closing five, for them to be the best that they can be, it's going to be Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond. That's the five that is going to be the most versatile and the best defending in my eyes. And I'm trying to think, have we ever seen that closing lineup? Now, granted, there's been so many guys in and out of the lineups. I understand that it may never even had that opportunity. And I understood DiVincenzo late on Ja just with his experience. And I think Dante could be a part of that. Listen, he could be, you could add him. My point is that it's Dante and Kuminga, I think, that need to be closers defensively and be in there. And I get Kuminga's young and all that. And now you're leaving out Loon. Listen, Kerr, people like to bash on Kerr, particularly for the young guys and not developing them, which is fair. I understand that there are gripes with that, but at the same time, listen, you don't have two hands full of hardware and jewelry by not being just crazy competitive. And I think it's very difficult for him to sacrifice or say, okay, maybe this isn't best for the W, but let me get these guys in here. He's going to try to win every game, you know? And so, and then you go to the agendas on this team, and they're just not all lined up. So it makes things very difficult. Wiggins, man, he's got to get right. You know, he hasn't been right since he got back. Now he's sick again. But if he can be healthy, thankfully, it's not like a bad knee or back or something, right? You assume out on the back end, when they come out of the All-Star break, Wiggins should be Wiggins, right? And the way Kuminga's taken a step defensively, those are 2 point of attack defenders, 2 switchable guys that can also guard up to put them in closing lineups and play them heavy minutes. I think that is the answer to solving the defensive issues. And so what I would like to see moving forward, it's really that 3-guy lineup: Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond. Those 3 in the front court. I think that it may be clunky offensively at times, but Steve and the staff, I'd like to see them kind of just grit down and commit to that for a while to see what that can become. Because again, if a trade's not coming, I think that has the highest ceiling to get where they want to go. So tonight, Toronto is out west, and they're playing better. Listen, they probably feel like they owe us. Didn't Poole 40-piece them a couple weeks ago up there and kind of ran them out their own gym? You know, they just upset the Kings. Long, athletic. Nick Nurse probably going to throw some sort of junk defense at Steph, right? It's not going to be an easy one, but I feel like I've been saying this all year long. Hey, we got to start stringing wins together. And I think that starts with committing to more Jonathan Kuminga in the beginning of the games and even at the end of games. At some point, you're going to have to pull that Band-Aid off and just start to trust him in clutch situations. I don't think we have an option. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.